Hey everyone, it's me, Joseph. Today's video is going to be fruit flan. This is a really nice dessert that I've been learning how to make and I really love it. And going on the video I made of creme pâtissière, I figured I need something, there's a dish that needs to go with that because I'm not just going to serve up do cream on the channel and then have nothing with it. So this filling is exactly what you will use for this. And I'm going to show everything. So I'm going to show how to make the creme pâtissière, I'm going to show how to make the sweet pastry, and then I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So without further ado, let's see what you will need, starting with the pastry. I've got my ingredients here, starting with my butter. I have icing sugar, some plain flour, egg yolks, some vanilla extract, and a little bit of salt. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, just sift all my flour into a bowl with a little bit of salt. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to add my butter in there. Now, it's very important that the butter isn't too big and chunky, or it's going to basically affect its ability to break down. So try aim for around 1 centimeter cubes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub this in with my fingers. And what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the mixture to resemble fine, damp sand. And I'll show you what that looks like when it's ready. Do work quickly as well, as we don't want the butter to melt too much. That is literally fine, damp sand. Now what I'm going to do, just want a little area in the center there. Okay. In go my eggs. Now I just want the yolks. If you really want to, you can just do the egg with the whites in it. But if you're going to do that, I would recommend then just using one whole egg. I'm going to be using 2 egg yolks for this, and the reason I'm opting for yolks is because they just enrichen the pastry a little bit more than does, I'm trying to find the word. They enrichen the pastry more than the whites do, if you would add the whites in it as well. If you would like though, if you are going to discard the whites, don't get rid of them, just use them for a meringue or something. Okay, whisk that in the center a little bit. Break it down. Also add your sugar and a little bit of vanilla essence. About that much. Get that all together. And now, you just want to mix it together enough, or not mix it together, you just want to bring it together enough so that it's just starting to stick together. If you go ahead and play with this too much, what's going to happen is you're going to get tougher dough, and that's not really what we want. So you'll see now that as I start to sort of bring this together, it is going to start sticking like this, and that's a very, very good sign, because that means that our dough is coming together. And when that starts to happen, once you start to get something like this, it's almost there, then we can move to the next step. Okay, here it is. Nice and soft. And yeah, really nice, really sexy. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to cling wrap this and put this in the fridge. Now, if you wanted to use this dough straight away, you would ideally want to leave this in the fridge for a minimum of 30 minutes. Because you just need the dough to rest, because in the state it's in now, it's not going to roll out properly at all. But I'm actually going to leave this overnight, because I find that when you leave doughs and stuff, not doughs overnight, when you leave this pastry overnight, it just turns out a lot better. So it's really up to you. Alright, that's it for this bad boy. Make sure she's nice and flat when you've wrapped it in cling wrap, and in the fridge it goes. Okay, so next I'm going to be moving on to my creme pâtissière, and I'm going to break this up into two sections because there are the same ingredients that you will need for two different steps. So starting off, we've got section 1 here. We have some caster sugar, we have some vanilla extract, and we have some milk. And then we have section 2. We have some more caster sugar, some more milk, we have some corn flour, and you're going to be using eggs, but you're only going to be using the egg yolks for this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour all my milk, all my sugar, and just a couple of drops of the vanilla essence. So, not very much there at all, as you can see. Now, while that's cooking there, what we can do is add all our second lot of ingredients that I showed earlier just into a bowl. So these, the milk, sugar, and corn flour. And just whisk that together. Now, ideally, you want your mixture to be around 60 degrees so that when you mix it in with your egg mix, it's not going to cook the eggs. Now, if you don't have a thermometer at home, that's fine. A good way to test this is by grabbing a bit of the mixture and just pouring a little bit on this part here on your hand. And you can basically estimate how hot it is. So you basically want it to feel as if it is a hot cup of coffee. Okay, this mixture is just about the perfect temperature. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to gently pour this, not all at a time, just bit by bit, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to whisk it. And also, quickly, with this mixture, do not put your egg mix into your liquid mix. That is going to make scrambled eggs, and that is not what we want. So I'll show you guys here. As you can see, I'm just continuously whisking, and while I'm doing that, I'm being very careful, not to go too much of the milky liquid. All right, lovely. All right, so that is all mixed in there. Now, fresh saucepan. We're going to heat this baby back up. Now, I've just put all my mixture back into a fresh saucepan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start mixing this around. Now, this mixture here is going to cook very, very, very fast. So keep playing with it, keep mixing it. And what you'll see soon is this mix is going to just basically completely change from a liquid state to a mushy mushy state. I'll show you. Yep, she's starting to come along. Very quickly now, you're gonna start to see that this ain't gonna be liquid no more. This is not gonna be liquid for very much longer. Look, you can already see it's starting to become nice and soft and less liquidy. Look at it. And this is exactly what we're looking for. If you're getting it to start looking like this, it means it's perfect. Look, here we go. This is exactly what we're looking for. Now just keep mixing that around. Try not to lose your mixture like I'm doing. And when that is completely in its gelatin state, which is about now, we obviously don't want to cook it too much. I will show you the next step. Okay, I'm gonna get my mix here, and into a bowl it goes. Now, what we want to do, cling wrap it, and immediately put this in the fridge. But when we wrap it, it's very important that we don't just cling wrap it like this. What we actually want to do is, I'll get a bit of cling wrap here. So you want to cover it so it actually is touching the surface of our crème pâtissière. Like so. I'll show you up close. That there is what you're looking for. You want the wrap to actually be touching it rather than over it. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to chill this in the fridge. And because obviously you don't want to have this hot. And yeah, and then that's it. And you can put it in dessert or whatever you'd like to use it for. So happy days, and yeah, get cooking with this. Hey guys, so this is my crème pâtissière. I just reused old footage because I'm a little bit lazy, I'm not gonna lie. But I want to show you how this batch turned out that I just made. And yeah, it's pretty good. So this is going in the fridge overnight, and yeah, happy days. Okay everyone, I am back and it's the next day. I have my crème pâtissière and I've got my sweet pastry. Now, I've actually given this one here a try, and my god, this just tastes so amazing. Like, you don't even have to have this in the fruit flan. You can just eat it by itself, and my god, it's absolutely brilliant. It's so good. Anyway, what was I talking about? That's right. So, I've left these overnight, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for this to soften a little bit so I can roll it out. And I'm going to wait for this to also soften a little bit. And yeah, without further ado, let's get cooking. Alright. Just gonna flour a work surface, rolling pin, bit of dough. And when it's gotten a little bit softer, to the point where it's gonna start to mold shape it, it's ready. I don't know if you could hear that or not, by the way. But yeah, we're just going to flatten this baby out. And a couple of cracks in there is okay, because we can just patch those up. Just, yeah, be careful that when you do this, you're not too rough as well, or it's going to break apart. So just make sure you're gentle. And don't be too rough with it. Just want, ooh, you lost that, to grease the things I'm going to put the pastry in, the trays, I guess, with a little bit of butter. Now, let's get our pastry in. And this is another thing as well about why you need to work fast. Because look at this. This just ain't working at all. Yeah, real problem. Humidity does affect your dough quite significantly. It's going to melt your butter down, It's going to give you a mess. So if your dough ends up just getting too soft, that's fine, but you just need to put it back in the fridge so it hardens up a little bit more. God damn it, man. And I mean very quickly. Oh, god damn it, it's doing it again. Not enough flour on my fucking workbench. You know what? I've done this too many times. I don't even care. I am just literally gonna have to press this in. Okay, the result I've ended up with is I've got 3 tins worth of pastry. I actually thought I was gonna get 4, but I only got 3. Mind you, these are really, really big tins though. Now, thing I will say, it is very, very, very important that you roll your pastry out very quickly, especially if the environment you're in is hot and humid, because your butter in your pastry is just going to melt absurdly fast, as you guys could see. So, it's very important that you do that. A thing I would recommend, which I didn't do, which I actually should have done, was I should have put these tins in the fridge first, so they get nice and cool, so when you put your pastry in, it cools them down and keeps them cool. So that's a step I would recommend. I ended up basically just having to kind of do it to press it on the edges and on the side and all that, because unfortunately my pastry just the butter in it melted so fast. So yeah, it's really, really, really important that you're really fast with your pastry. I know that this is still going to turn out great. Unfortunately, where I live is just very humid. Now, I'm going to put this in the fridge for 30 minutes because I just want to make sure that my butter isn't melted when I put it in the oven, because if that happens, it means our pastry is going to end up softer. So, before I do that though, I need to actually dock my pastry. Now docking is just a term for you put a fork in the bottom of the pastry to make holes in it, which I'm just gonna do now. And the reason we do this, pretty simple, is so that during the cooking process, the bottom of the pastry doesn't rise. Now, in the fridge it goes for 30 minutes. Okay, while that's in the fridge, you want to preheat your oven. You want 220 degrees. Okay, I've taken my pastry out of the fridge. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blind bake these. And to do that, I'm going to place over a little bit of baking paper on top of each of these. I say a little bit of baking paper. I may or may not have gotten a little bit overboard on the baking paper, but that's alright. Just as long as it covers the whole thing, that's fine. Now, I've also got some rice here, and I'm just going to pour that in, just so it fills it up. Now, the reason we do this is for 2 reasons. Firstly, the rice is going to hold down the bottom and it's going to cook it better. And secondly, this here is also actually going to protect it from the heat as well. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to cook this for 15 to 20 minutes on that 220 degrees, which you preheated your oven if you were following my instructions. And yeah, just put it in for that time, and yeah, happy days. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is, while it's getting itself sorted out, I'm going to melt some chocolate in this bowl here. Now, what I'm gonna do, and the reason I'm doing this, is because we're going to lightly brush the bottom of our tarts with dark chocolate. I'll just show you the chocolate I'm using. I'm using Lindt 70% dark chocolate. This is an absolutely wonderful melting chocolate. But realistically, you can use a cheaper dark chocolate if you'd like. I'm just using this one because it's a lot better. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is, to melt my chocolate, I need a saucepan of water, and I need a bowl on top of that water. Make sure it's heat proof. Now, Why we do this to melt the chocolate is because we just want to melt it, we don't want to cook it. If I melt the chocolate straight into a frying pan or something, it's going to cook the chocolate. If you do it this way, you're guaranteed to melt the chocolate without cooking it, provided the temperature of the water is about 30 to 40 degrees. Because if you do the water too hot, so it's boiling, you will also cook the chocolate. Remember, we don't want to cook the chocolate, we just want to melt it. Just to make my life a little bit easier as well, I'm just going to break up the chocolate before it goes in. That's going to make melting process a little bit better and easier on me. And really, you can just leave that in there. And yeah, let the magic of the saucepan and the water do its thing. While that is going, we are now going to create a glaze that goes on top of the fruit. Now, all you need for this is some orange juice, and you also want some apricot jam, or marmalade as I have here. In goes my apricot jam with orange juice. Just gonna break that up a little bit. And you only need to leave that in there for around 3 minutes. It's not very long at all. The thing I find with the marmalade as well is that give it a couple of minutes to cool, and it becomes a lot more of the consistency which I was saying, which I've forgotten. But I've forgotten the word for it. But anyway, it becomes a lot more of that consistency. So once you've given it about 3 minutes, just give it some time to rest, and it will turn out good. Okay, so while that's happening, I just want to get my crème pâtissière to be in a state where it can be piped. And at the minute, it's not in that state. So when your crème pâtissière is out of the fridge and it's been out of there for, I want to say, about 20 minutes, just start mixing it around with a fork or a whisk. So it just becomes pipeable. So if the mixture's a little bit lumpy, that's okay. What you can do is just incorporate a little bit of water in there, so a very small amount. And then just mix the water in, and that will help it out a little bit. Yeah, it's almost got the look of mayonnaise on, honestly. Like, that color and that texture is very similar to that of mayonnaise. The only difference being that it's very nice and sweet. Out come my pastry. Now, a very, 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 very good thing about the rice you use for blind baking is you don't actually have to get rid of it. Use this anytime you blind bake. So this is absolutely fine to use again. You can keep using it over and over and over and over again as many times as you would like. And as for how long I've cooked this for, this is cooked for about, I want to say, 18 minutes. Now do be very careful that when you take your rice out, you get none inside the pastry, because that's a pain in the ass to take out. Now we're going to put this back in the oven for 5 minutes on the exact same temperature as we did, 220 degrees. I'll see you when it's done. And here they are out of the oven. As you can see by the top, they are a little bit burnt, but that's all right. I'm just going to trim that off. Now, leave them on a wire rack to cool, and you're looking for about 10 minutes. I gave them a little trim. Okay, I'm going to need to be super quick on this next bit. Now, we're going to start by brushing the bottom of these with our melted dark chocolate. And I am going to go a bit crazy on this because I absolutely love the dark chocolate in this. It really does make a difference. Next, I've got my crème pâtissière in not a piping bag. A little trick, if you don't have access to a piping bag, which I don't at the minute, just put it in a Ziploc bag. And what you can do is just cut off the end of the bag and then just pipe it in. So just going around in there. Lovely. Okay, next, the actual fruit itself. Now, I am using a lot of fruit that's the color red. So I've got some nectarine pieces, I've got some raspberries, I've got some strawberries. But the thing is, there is no right or wrong way with the fruit you put on top of this. You can use anything, provided it's good. But yeah, just go for it. Last but not least, our glaze. And that is it. It's not my best attempt to make it, I'm not gonna lie, but it's come together. So at least that's something. But I am not going to just let this sit here. I need to give a taste and an honest opinion, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give an honest rating on this right now. All right, my little bit of fruit flan here. We're just gonna try it now. And I wanna be honest with this. I don't wanna, you know, lie to you and say I think it's good but it's not actually, or I don't wanna say it's bad but it's good. I'm not gonna say it's bad but it's good, but anyway. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think I need to put that in the fridge. I'm gonna try that again. Okay, so I've given the dessert time to cool and I've actually tried it that it's cooled, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be absolutely terrible because the pastry was a little bit burnt, but no, if you give it time to chill, if you give the creme pâtissière time to set, you know, you give it the dessert the time it needs to actually get cold, it tastes a lot better. Now, I do want to say though as well, obviously I could have made this dessert a lot better, being that I could have actually not burnt the pastry. I did everything else right, I would say, literally, except for the pastry. So it's really annoying. So something that you and I can learn from this actually is just don't cook the pastry as long, you know, make sure you keep a really good eye on your pastry, because I clearly wasn't, you know, looking at it enough. I should have, you know, been looking at it a little bit better, but wasn't that bad. So I'll give it my rating now. I score from 1 to 10, 1 being, you know, worst that type of thing I've ever had, 5 being borderline average, and 10 being the best of that type of thing I've ever had. So what would I give that fruit flan? I am going to give that, I'm going to say a 7, because I got everything right. You know, the fruit was nice and ripe. I melted the chocolate just fine. The creme pâtissière was perfect. The stuff on top, the jam spread on top was good, but just the pastry, you could taste that teeny bit of burntness on top. So my advice, if you're going to cook this, is just make sure you keep a real good eye on your pastry, because every oven is going to be different. So when I say 15 to 20 minutes, right, you might think that, 15 to 20 minutes is not that big of a deal, but it really is, because like an extra 2 minutes could be the difference between your pastry being perfect and your pastry just being overdone. So just make sure you keep an eye on it. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up with that. And yeah, look, definitely wasn't the worst definitely wasn't the worst fruit flan I've ever made, but could have been a hell of a lot better. But is what it is. So thanks for watching if you did. And yeah, I'll see you with another video in the future. Bye.